Hey there, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Tips and Tricks Tuesday. Do you have boundaries? Let me ask you this. Do you end up getting involved in things that you kind of really wish you weren't involved in things? Listen, there's two different types of boundaries. There's the outside boundaries, those boundaries with other people, and then there's self boundaries. So the two different kind of boundaries, outside, inside, right? And so when we talk about the outside boundaries, those are the boundaries that are all of those things that are affecting you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, stressed out, stop and consider how many things are coming at you all day long that you're not saying no to, or you haven't set up an official boundary to say, hey, nope, time out. This is my time to insert whatever it is that you're doing. And so that everybody knows that that's a hard boundary for you, that you're not to be disturbed during that time. So boundaries are those things that help protect. It's your bubble. It's those things that help protect your sanity. So when you think about your boundaries on the outside boundaries, have you told the people around you? If you work from home, that might be your kids, it might be your significant other, it might be your pets. Have you told them, hey, these hours or this time period, I'm in a meeting, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I am not to be disturbed? That's a boundary. You're setting a boundary. You're letting them know that you are not to be disturbed during this time so you can keep your focus time. There is nothing worse than being immersed in something and then having that knock on the door. Hey, I'm just running down the store for something. Do you need anything? And poof, everything that is in your head is gone. Now, I know it's really super innocent, but that's a boundary that's been crossed. It's a line that you're being disturbed. And so your focus time gets all out of whack. And that's what builds the stress and the overwhelm, because you feel like you're not getting things done because you're constantly interrupted by all these things. That's why you need to set some boundaries. So on the outside boundary side, the key to setting those outside boundaries is communication. You need to let them know what the boundary is. If they don't know, well, they don't know. So if you haven't told them, hey, you know what, from 12 to 2 p.m., I am not to be disturbed. I'm in like hard focus time. I'm working on a program, whatever it is, so that they know from 12 to 2, do not disturb. Do not disturb her. She's busy. Now, obviously, in case of emergency, right? It's up to you to set those boundaries, and we all need those boundaries. How many people ask you to do things and you continually say yes? Now, yes and no, that's an inside boundary. One of those inside boundaries, the most important inside boundary, is the ability to say no. Now, we've talked about the whole saying no thing before, right? And when it comes to saying no is kind of an art form, right? Because you have to know how to say it, sometimes with tact. Sometimes, it just comes out. At a certain age, I'll tell you, I'm at a certain age now where I have no filter anymore. So the no just comes out. If you ask me to do something and I really don't want to do it, I'm going to tell you straight out no. When I was younger, that was not the case. When I was younger, I very often wanted to say no. And inside, my insides were screaming, no, 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 no. And I heard myself say, yeah, okay. Did you ever do that before? That's an inside boundary. Learn to say no to the things that aren't serving you. If you really don't want to go do something, don't go do it. If you really want to, spend some self-care time. And somebody's saying, yeah, but I want you to come shopping with me, or I want you to do this, or I want you to go out on Friday night. And you're like, yeah, I'd really like to stay home Friday night. And that's what's going on in your head. Say, no, I really want to stay home tonight. Do not be pressured into saying yes. I know in the past, at one point I was on, I don't even know how many nonprofit boards. I was on a whole bunch of nonprofit boards. Why? Because they were nonprofits and, I wanted to help out and I couldn't say no. And so every time somebody asked me to be a board member, I was like, of course I'll be a board member. And I was on boards for things that, while they were important causes, they weren't important causes to me. And I let a lot of my time be taken up on them because I didn't say no. Now I am very careful about my boundaries and what I pick and choose and what I say yes to. So those internal boundaries are all those things to yourself. Now, internal boundaries are also your self peace. And when I say that, I mean, think about something you've been telling yourself. Maybe you're saying, yeah, I want to lose that 20 pounds. And in order to do that, you know what? I'm not going to eat as much bread as I've been eating. I've been eating bread like 3 times a day with every meal and that kind of thing. So I'm going to cut my bread out. And then you get to breakfast. You have some eggs and, well, you want some toast. All right, I'm going to have bread once a day. Lunch comes around. A friend calls you up. Hey, let's go out to lunch. And they order this big sandwich. And while you're thinking about ordering a salad, you're going, wow, that sandwich really looks good. And so you're like, yeah, I'll have the sandwich. And then at dinner, maybe you have a roll or something like that. And you get to the end of the day, and now you feel lousy. You're like, I told myself that I was going to only have bread once a day because I'm cutting out all of those extra carbs. So only once a day. I'm not cutting them completely out, but I'm cutting them down. So one time a day. And I had them with breakfast. And then I had them with lunch. And then I had them with dinner. It was up to me to say no. That's an inside boundary. You set a boundary and you didn't withhold it for yourself. So what are you honoring in your boundaries? Are you honoring your own boundaries? Are you honoring your outside boundaries? When people come up and ask you, hey, can you do this tonight? Or can you help me move? Or can you do this or do that? Or whatever it is. And you know deep down you really can't or don't want to do it. Are you still saying yes? If you are, you're letting go of your own boundaries. So the boundaries you set are your choice, and they're also your choice to keep or not keep. The only one responsible for your boundaries at the end of the day is you. So if you're not getting things done, if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed out because you've got all these interruptions, if you haven't lost the 20 pounds you wanted to lose, and you know you've had more than enough time to lose it, what boundaries have you been ignoring or choosing not to pay attention to that are stopping you from getting done what you want to get done? Think about it a little bit, and then go back and reset those boundaries and stick to them. Think about them. They're boundaries. It's not a bad thing. Put up your bubble, internal and external. These are my hard stops. This is what I do. This is what I don't do. I have boundaries. And don't let anybody, including yourself, step on those boundaries. That's what I've got for you this week. We'll see you next week on Tips and Tricks Tuesday. Bye for now.